you for coming to our presentation today. We both work at the University of Southampton. So my name is Ros Davies and I'm a Principal Teaching Fellow and Director of Internationalisation in the School of Humanities and also in the Academic Centre for International Students, or ACIS as it's known. And Lauriane?
Hi, my name's Lauriane Milln and I'm a Principal Teaching Fellow based in ACIS also. And my main role for the last 5 years or so has been as Programme Lead for EAP on our transnational programme with Harbin Engineering University up in the north of China. Okay, let's get started. So when we look at the rapid expansion of English medium instruction and transnational programmes, especially in UK-China partnerships, something often gets overlooked. And that is the central role that EAP teams such as ours play in making these programmes work. We're fundamental. We're the ones who bridge academic cultures, support students' linguistic and academic development, and prepare them to succeed in EMI environments, usually with tight deadlines and complex cross-border situations. Yet when TNE is discussed, the focus tends to gravitate towards assessment, quality assurance, curriculum design. All of those things matter, of course they do, but they don't capture what students really notice the most. Students respond to people teaching them. So the tutor's professionalism and empathy and their support they offer. And those human-centred qualities depend on something very simple. Tutors who know the programme well, who understand the local context and who have strong working relationships across both home and host institutions. So that leads us on to the hidden challenge of TNE, which is staff continuity or staff retention. Even though teaching teams are fundamental to student experience, continuity is rarely treated as a pedagogic priority. But without it, you lose the trust and local knowledge and collaborative habits that make TNE teaching effective. So in this presentation today, we're going to share how our JEI has managed to retain a core team over several years, the positive impact this has had on both teaching and student outcomes, and the conceptual and practical elements of the model that we have developed. We know there are many effective TNE models, and this is just one way of doing things. It hasn't all been plain sailing, but I think it's interesting to discuss what our drivers and our priorities are. So I'll pass over to Ros, who will tell you a bit more about our background and context.
So our reflections draw on the joint education partnership between the University of Southampton and Harbin Engineering University in China. So the programme began in 2020, and initially we were expecting to deliver in person, but then as COVID hit, we had to go online, and then gradually we were able to deliver a hybrid course, and finally we have been delivering in person for the last couple of years. So we have around 200 students each year. It's a 4+0 joint Bachelor of Engineering degree in 4 ocean engineering disciplines, delivered entirely in China. And within the programme, colleagues in the Faculty of Humanities deliver English for Engineering modules in years 1 and 2. And more recently, we've also been asked to deliver to year 4 students, that is, helping them with their individual independent projects. So the teaching is carried out by flying faculty on short-term contracts, which means the programme relies on staff who travel to China for intensive teaching periods. As a result, the programme involves significant collaboration across faculties within Southampton, as well as ongoing coordination with our partner institution in China. And this kind of transnational agreement creates both opportunities, of course, and challenges for EAP provision, particularly when it comes to maintaining continuity and building a stable teaching team. So now we'll move on to consider the conceptual framing for this presentation and for the TNE delivery that we have.
Thank you. So the conceptual lens that underpins our approach to staff development in our joint programme looks a bit like this. At its heart is the idea that academic communication and teaching expertise grow through participation in professional teaching communities. What the academic literature's tradition describes as learning through doing, sharing, belonging. So work on communities of practice shows that when teachers collaborate regularly, they develop shared pedagogical knowledge, stronger confidence and greater agency in curriculum design. So for us, stability in teaching teams isn't just an HR goal, it's pedagogical. Staff who stay and work together over time build the collective expertise, shared language and trust. And that sense of community supports both academic communication and high quality teaching. So this conceptual framework here helps explain why we've put staff support and retention central to our model. So I'll let Ros talk about why this actually matters in EAP.
Thanks, Lorianne. So we focused on 3 areas here: curriculum continuity, student experience, and institutional collaboration. I'll go through each one of them briefly. So EAP programs are typically designed as scaffolded courses that develop students' academic literacies progressively over time. Skills such as disciplinary reading, it might be argumentation, technical writing, which build across modules rather than within a single class. So when teaching teams change frequently, this can disrupt that scaffolding, and different teachers may interpret course aims differently. Assessment practices may vary, and the coherence of the curriculum can sometimes be weakened. So by contrast, sustained teaching communities developed shared understandings of the curriculum and assessment practices, and over time they can build collective pedagogical expertise about what works best for their students. So staff continuity is also important from the perspective of the student experience, particularly in transnational programs. Students in these contexts are often navigating several simultaneous transitions. It could be new academic cultures, it could be English medium instruction, or unfamiliar expectations about academic communication. So in this environment, consistent academic support becomes really valuable. Stable teaching teams can provide clearer expectations and more coherent feedback across modules. Sustained teaching communities therefore help create the kind of consistent learning environment that supports students as they adapt to English medium higher education. So a third dimension relates to institutional collaboration. Delivering EAP in a transnational program requires coordination across multiple institutional contexts. In our case, between a UK university, an overseas partner institution, engineering departments, institutional boards and committees. And so developing shared understanding across these contexts really takes time. Teachers gradually build institutional knowledge, relationships, and communication channels that support the program. Sustained teaching communities allow this collaborative knowledge to develop and stabilize, whereas high staff turnover often means that this knowledge has to be rebuilt repeatedly. For these reasons, we began to think more carefully about what makes these communities possible in transnational EAP programs. And so reflecting on this program, we began to identify a set of conditions that seem to support the development of teaching communities. So these reflections led us to conceptualize what we refer to here as the TNE EAP sustainability model, which captures the key practices and the conditions that we feel have helped support staff continuity within the program. These foundations include leadership, professional recruitment, structured induction, teacher agency, and professional development and collaborative teaching communities. So we'll briefly illustrate each of these through examples from the program. So we'll start with relational and responsive leadership. So we have collaborative leadership from the UK. We work with our teaching team in Harbin And we have a team of coordinators that work with us at Harbin who act as a bridge between teachers and between us. And we also have direct communication, of course, with the teachers in Harbin. So this is to ensure that we have smooth communication between the various people that are involved in the teaching and the coordinating and the leadership. And so leadership isn't just about management, it's about creating stability and trust, as Lauriane has mentioned, across both local and distant contexts. It combines practical and relational support, including local and overseas leadership engagement, as I've mentioned, transparency during periods of uncertainty or conflict, and responsiveness to staff concerns. For example, it could be something as small as accommodation, but making sure that it is comfortable as possible for staff and making sure that any concerns are escalated within the institution as appropriate. So we've also in the past provided, for example, additional marking and workload support to staff during pinch points, which helps maintain staff morale and teaching quality. The second component here is professional recruitment. And here we mean starting with the right people, because everything flows from that. This means careful selection through interviews, prioritising experienced EA practitioners. And usually we have recruited from our pre-sessional programme with staff who've worked with us for a number of years, who have teaching and often coordinator experience as well, who are familiar with the university's ethos, systems, expectations. We also look for staff who offer complementary skills and who have a collaborative mindset, so important when working at a distance with these multiple contexts. The aim is to build a trusted, high-quality teaching team capable of working across faculties, institutions and borders. And by recruiting the right people from the outset, the programme is much better placed to maintain continuity and pedagogical consistency. The third component is the induction and the contextual preparation, which helps teachers to ease into the programme successfully. So each year this varies depending on the needs of the group that we're working with and any changes in systems and processes at the university. So induction combines programme orientation, pedagogic training, and we've been very lucky to call on our Confucius Institute, who've offered cultural and language training to staff travelling to China. So this, we hope, ensures that teachers feel confident, supported and prepared to engage effectively with students and colleagues from day one. And also Lauriane travels out to China to be with the staff for the first 2 weeks of the programme to ensure that everybody's settled in and that the induction is delivered effectively. So we will now move on to the next component. And I'm passing over to Lauriane. Lauriane for this one.
So how do we support tutor agency and professional growth? In our model, autonomy is built into how we work. So tutors have a genuine voice in how modules are delivered. Example, they co-create the syllabus materials, revise tasks based on student feedback, have a say in curriculum design, in fact, and shape their shared resources. This all helps the team to develop ownership over the curriculum, which is important. Alongside autonomy, we emphasise professional trust. Staff consistently tell us that they feel listened to and respected and trusted with their professional judgment, which makes their role far more enjoyable and sustainable. In these environments, it can be tricky when expectations are complex, so trust is even more important. We also focus heavily on professional development. The tutors in Harbin are supported to attend conferences, present their own work, present at conferences and engage in research. So this strengthens their expertise and builds their confidence. And I think it shows them how much we care about their long-term career pathways rather than just their short-term immediate teaching posts. So all of these practices, autonomy, trust and meaningful professional development, we feel works together so that they feel valued and invested in, and then they feel more motivated to stay with us. So that leads us to the next final component of our model, and that's collaborative teaching community. So I've mentioned this a bit before about the collaborative planning and shared reflection. It's important that our tutors don't work in isolation, that they're constantly working together and learning from each other and developing their approach together. But what makes our community especially effective is the social side. So the leadership approach is very relational, and we intentionally create and support opportunities to go out outside of work. So have meals, go to the pub, have karaoke nights, have informal gatherings. And these social experiences obviously help people to relax and build trust and form genuine and lasting relationships. So in a TNE context, people can feel far away from home. So this sense of belonging to the host university really matters, and it strengthens well-being and therefore makes people want to stay. So Ros is going to talk a bit more about what happens beyond the contracts.
So in transnational programs, staffing is also often framed primarily in contractual or logistical terms, as Lauriane mentioned at the beginning. However, our experience suggests that contracts alone don't determine whether teachers remain engaged with a program. And interestingly, what we've also found is that sometimes short-term contracts are a draw for staff, particularly staff who are seeking international experience in a particular country. For those who perhaps will come and work with us on the program and then will go and engage in some training or will travel, or maybe they have commitments at home which they need to return to. So it can work by allowing them to achieve both those things. As always, there are challenges, and especially so in this climate. But what we feel stands staff in good stead is the resilience that they have gained there, the collegiality and collaborative experiences, the different perspectives that they have. And we do know that the highest executive staff at the university here really recognise their skills and see them as ambassadors for the university. So we'll now move on to the next slide, which is about the implications for EAP in TNE.
Okay, yeah, so finally, I hope we've shown today that our TNE sustainability model, it does much more than just keep the programme running. It creates real conditions for excellence, which boosts student outcomes and student experience, really. So student feedback has always been overwhelmingly positive about the teaching and the support received, and about the relationship students have built with tutors over the years. And as Ros just mentioned, this success has raised our profile within the wider university, including within the Faculty of Engineering, where our work is now recognised as central to this programme and has allowed us to gain other work since. So, of course, we recognise that many of these points are simply not possible in some of your contexts, depending where the recruitment and the training of the EAP sits in the model. But I think it's fundamental that these factors are all agreed on and planned in the early stages when TNE programmes are being designed. We haven't got the perfect model. We've faced challenges, as every TNE partnership does, but we feel that our commitment to the team and the community we've built has allowed us to overcome these challenges. So yes, in a time when EAP feels a little precarious, we feel this model has helped secure our place in our institution in a visible way, which is great. So thank you for your attention and for getting to the end of this video. Here are our references. And yeah, if you'd like to talk to us more or ask us any questions, we'll be around. I'll be around at the conference, or we'll be available online in the Q&A session. or send us an email. We're really happy to answer any questions and to chat and take these conversations further. So thank you, Roz. See you later.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.